August 19th is the deadline that Attorney General Pam Bondi put on her letter to 32 elected officials around the country for their sanctuary state policies and the need to come into compliance. Washington State Governor Bob Ferguson held a press conference today, as did Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. And in today's video, I'm going to go over some clips from both of these press conferences, as well as give you my take on where I think this is going next. Hey everyone, I'm Julie Barrett with Conservative Ladies of America, and today we're going to take a look at the response from some of the Democrat elected officials to Attorney General Pam Bondi's letter last week, calling them to get into compliance with federal law on immigration enforcement. Now, when I saw these letters come out, and I know people that live in blue states and Democrat-run cities that got these letters were really excited that the feds were going to come and enforce the rule of law in their area. Unfortunately, there is a history of these Democrat leaders pushing back, suing the Trump administration, go back to the first administration, and they have been successful in their attempts to fight the Trump administration policies. I don't believe this time is going to be much different. Now, the letter that Pam Bondi sent out to these elected officials says individuals operating under the color of law using their official position to obstruct federal immigration enforcement efforts and facilitating or inducing illegal immigration may be subject to criminal charges. As such, I have instructed that all litigating components of the and each U.S. Attorney's Office shall investigate incidents involving any such potential lawful conduct and shall, where supported by the evidence, prosecute violations of federal law. Goes on to state the different codes there she is referring to. Now, I highlighted sections of that because I want you to take note that she's saying they shall investigate and they shall prosecute where supported by the evidence. I feel like these two things leave a lot of loopholes for things actually not getting prosecuted and investigations coming back finding nothing. Now, Bob Ferguson, in his press conference today, mentioned that he fought 55 times during the first Trump administration and won. He fought 3 times and lost.
In 2017, I was the first state attorney general to challenge President Donald Trump's efforts to trample our Constitution in court, and I was the first attorney general to defeat him. Along with the excellent team in the Office of the Attorney General, we went on to defeat the first Trump administration 55 times in court. We were unsuccessful in just 3 cases. Given that history, I can assure you, I am prepared to defend Washington from any litigation the Trump administration wishes to pursue.
So I'll give him credit that he has a very good track record in defeating the Trump agenda, which does not bode well for our friends in Washington state. Now, when you take the collaboration and the alliance of these blue state leaders like Ferguson with Newsom and Tina Kotek in Oregon, and maybe even some others, these guys are all going to come together and serve as a united front, as they already have been for the last 8 months, pushing back against the Trump administration. There are going to be lawsuits, which he alluded to in his press conference.
Am I expecting the next step to be a lawsuit challenging? I don't know what to expect with the federal government today, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow. I really don't. I don't mean that to avoid your question. I just, and what I believe, or the way I try to approach how things are currently with this administration, is to be prepared, right? That's where we can do our best work. As a cabinet, many of my cabinet members are here, right? As legislators, as organizations, all of us, right? Working together, be prepared as best as we possibly can. And by the way, that goes back to when the Keep Washington Working Act was adopted. I won't repeat, but A lot of that preparation went back into how we crafted that law, how the legislature crafted that law back in 2019. So I don't know what the next step is. But if they do choose to file a lawsuit, obviously we feel very prepared for it. But look, I would not have expected, as a governor of the state, to receive a letter from the U.S. Attorney General threatening to criminally prosecute me and other state officials over the Keep Washington Working Act. That was not something I had on my bingo card when I got elected, that's for sure. Yeah.
Of course, all of these lawsuits are on the taxpayer dime and at taxpayer expense. One thing I want to remind people of when they say withhold the funds, that sounds good. However, we've already seen with this administration the threat to withhold funds. And then they have a change of heart, a change of mind, and they release the funds. We saw this with education funding, where they called these radical left states to come into compliance with things like Title IX and the gender ideology and the diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff that's happening in public schools, or they would lose funding. Well, they pushed back, they filed a lawsuit, and before a judge even had a chance to rule on this, the Trump administration released the funding to these Democrat states. So that makes me very cautious about the funds actually being withheld from these sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. What we've seen so far today from Michelle Wu in Boston and from Bob Ferguson in Washington shows that they are not backing down. In fact, they are doubling down, as State Senator Lisa Wellman said at the press conference.
This has always been a city of revolution, of innovation, of standing up for the public good, and never bowing down to tyranny. Cities aren't a threat to America. They fuel the American dream. They bring us together. Great cities make our country great. Boston will never back down from being a beacon of freedom and a home for everyone.
Today is an important day for Washington State to stand together and reaffirm the importance of protecting its immigrant communities. We are doubling down. We have to double down on the importance of Keep Washington Working to continue to protect our communities. Keep Washington Working Act is one of the strongest laws in the country.
I think it's very possible to expect more legislation to enhance these sanctuary policies in Washington state could be coming down the pipeline. Special session, possibly, I'm not sure, but I think for sure come January when they kick off the 2026 legislative session, you are going to see the Washington state Democrats push forward a lot more sanctuary policies and things that protect illegal immigrants in the state. Now, here's where I'm going to give my friends in Washington a little bit of tough love. If you are in Washington and you're crying for Pam Bondi to come save you, or President Trump to come save you, or anyone else to come save you, I am here to tell you that no one is coming to save you. And that's why I and my team at Conservative Ladies are so passionate about engaging citizens and educating citizens about what they can do, how they can step up and take action at a local level, at a state level, or even at a federal level. It is important that we, the people, don't sit on the sidelines and don't expect politicians and elected leaders to save us. We must save ourselves. We must save our families. We must save our children. No one is coming to save us. All of these politicians have an agenda, and it is not putting your family first. That is truly your responsibility. So let's say you are in a Democrat state like Washington. What can you do about something like this? Well, you can speak up and make a lot of noise. You must vote in your elections. Yes, even if you think it is fraudulent with all of the mail-in voting, you must vote. And you need to realize that while you speak up and you make a lot of noise, you're likely not going to create change right away. You are going to frustrate and maybe slow the process for the Democrats. But if you don't speak up, if you stay silent, they get to pass all of this evil, radical stuff with zero resistance. So please at least speak up and make a lot of noise so that they cannot do this quietly and in the dark. I will say a lot of these states that are so deep blue, like the entire West Coast, they're likely not going to change course and become a little bit more purple or even just a lighter shade of blue anytime soon. So you need to be committed to making a lot of noise, getting engaged, and doing everything in your power to protect your family. You may also want to consider, like our family did, to move to another state. Now, if you do move to another state, I encourage you to please get involved, because the left is not content staying in these deep blue states. They want to infiltrate every inch of this country. So wherever you go, you must engage in the fight to keep your new state, your new city, free. What we see in these blue states is what happens when citizens sit idly by and don't speak up. In the description of this video, I will have a link so you can go watch the full Bob Ferguson press conference if you would like. I also have a link to a Substack that we put out last week about the 32 letters sent by Pam Bondi. Now, where do I think this is going next? What do I think the federal government is going to do? I think we might have sort of an Epstein situation on our hands, where they kept telling us that the Epstein files were coming. Even up until, what was it, in mid-July, we heard that the Epstein files were going to be coming, and they never did. I think that this is potentially a lot of talk with 32 different states and cities. That is a lot of bandwidth for the federal government. So if anything, for the next steps, we would be maybe looking at investigations and that sort of thing, potentially withholding of funding. But you're going to see those lawsuits get filed rather quickly. And I would assume that courts would put that on hold and would require those funds to be released, because as we know, the judicial system is also captured by the left. I'd be curious to hear what you think. What do you think is going to happen next with these 32 elected officials and the Department of Justice? Do you think they will be held accountable, or do you think their doubling down and pushing back is going to work in their favor? Please do be sure to share this video far and wide. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.